I call to order the October 11th, 2021 school board meeting to order. It is 7 p.m. We are in conference room C of the Fisher Administrative Building at 12121 West North Avenue. Ms. Newman, please call the roll.
Ms. Fraley? Here. Dr. Jessup Anger?
Here.
Mr. Meyer?
Here.
Ms. Mufeld? Here. Mr. Phillips?
Absent.
Mr. Rowland?
Here.
Mr. Doman?
Here. We'll move on to public comment on non-agenda items. Members of the Wauwatosa School Board valued input of students, parents, staff members, and community members. The board's regularly scheduled meetings provide an opportunity for opinions and concerns to be expressed publicly. The board values all comments and will respectfully consider this input in decision-making. The board requests that individuals limit their comment on each item to 3 minutes. Following any comment, an individual board member may respond on the issue raised. However, it is not the intent of the public comment portion of the agenda for the board to enter into a debate with members of the community. Because non-agenda items are not publicly posted in advance, no action will be taken on public comment regarding non-agenda items this evening. Are there any members of the public in the room that would like to come forward and speak on non-agenda items? Seeing none, Jamie, is there anyone online?
Yes, we do have one. Julie Alexander, you have the microphone. Please state your name and address. Julie, you're muted. You'll need to unmute yourself.
Okay. Hi, my name is Julie Alexander. I'm at 7224 West State Street, Unit 1A in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. And I am wanting to mention that I did not see the van discussion on the agenda. I did do some research and I did find out that there are 3 bus companies that Milwaukee Public School uses when they're transporting students in wheelchairs: Lamers, Right Way, and First Student. So I just thought I'd mention that to you. I've got their phone numbers as well. So those were my comments.
Thank you. Anyone else online, Jamie?
Yes, Deb Falk-Palak, you have the microphone. Please state your name and address.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's Deb Falk-Palak at 7435 West Wells Street. I thought that maybe it was in 2 weeks that the purchase of the accessible van would be brought back to the school board. I'm not exactly sure if I remember that correctly from 2 weeks ago. But after doing a little bit of research and getting some assistance, we do have 2 companies here in the Milwaukee area. We have Mobility Works in Waukesha and Access Mobility Vans in Cudahy that both do van conversions, and this is their area of expertise. So hopefully that can help the personnel that are working on this issue. And then I brought up about training too for our staff. So University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, their School of Continuing Ed, has a program called PASS, P-A-S-S, standing for Passenger Assistance, Safety, and Sensitivity Program, for exactly this particular reason. And this is the program that's used by Milwaukee County Paratransit for drivers that are transporting persons with disabilities throughout the county. So that would be another resource. And we do look forward to hearing more about what's happening with the accessible van purchase. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no more hands raised.
Thank you, Jamie. Next, we will move on to superintendent action item, and we will do one of the best things I think this board has done and welcome our new student representatives to the school board. Ms. Mufeld, please read the motion.
Yes, thank you. It's my pleasure. It is recommended that the school board approve the appointment of Ella Archambault, Nadia Ewell, Will Fleural, and Catherine Pluta as student representatives to the school board, and I so move. Second.
Great, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any Discussion on this item from the board or questions? Seeing none, any community comment on this item from those in the room? Seeing none, anyone online, Jamie?
No, there are no hands raised.
Great. Ms. Newman, please call the roll.
Ms. Fraley,
Yes.
Dr. Jessup Banger,
Yes.
Mr. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Newfeld,
Yes.
Mr. Rowland,
Yes.
Mr. Doman.
Yes, thank you so much. And we'll move on to the oath of office. The three of you can stand up and step forward. And our clerk, Mr. Meyer, will read the oath of office to you.
Welcome. Please repeat after me. I state your name. Having been appointed to the office of student representative.
Having been appointed to the office of student representative
Please raise your hand. Sorry. On the Wauwatosa School Board.
on the Wauwatosa School Board,
But have not yet entered upon the duties thereof.
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
Swear or affirm
swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Now or at,
Sure, you can sign it now. That's fine.
please come over here and
And I should tell the board, Ms. Archambault was not able to make it tonight. She was on a college tour and she will join us at the next meeting and do the oath.
sign the one with your name. Is that the one with your name? Nadia?
Congratulations. to all of you.
Thank you
Congratulations.
so much.
Thank you for taking this role on. It's so important to have your voices representing students at this table.
And then I will sign a date and a copy will be provided to you by the clerk. Thank you very much.
All right, we will move on to consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda which board members would like to remove for separate discussion and action?
Yes, please may I ask for separate discussion and action on vouchers?
Yes, are there any objections to that?
No objection.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve the remaining portion of the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second,
Any discussion on the remaining consent agenda items? Any community comment in the room on the remaining consent agenda items? Any community comment online, Jamie?
No hands raised.
Ms. Newman, please call the roll.
Ms. Fraley,
Yes.
Dr. Jessup Banger,
yes.
Mr. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Newfeld,
Yes.
Mr. Rowland,
Yes.
Mr. Doman.
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve the vouchers? And then if we have a second, then I'll let Mr. Meyer have a discussion about it. Motion to approve.
Sure. Motion to approve the voucher item on the agenda.
Second,
Thank you. Mr. Meyer, did you want to kick us off?
Yes, my discussion is this, to put in context. We are elected, some board members to the school board. And one of our powers that we exercise is the power of the state to seize people's money through taxation. As the basis of that, we are oversight and watchdogs with regards to how we are operating. We have, again, to my understanding, more accusations of violations of purchasing policy. I have asked for a meeting of the board with our auditors to somehow provide a recommendation of expanding scope with respect to our audit to find these things before they come to us after the fact. I very much respect and am very much liking Mr. Neufield's suggestion that the board appoint a quality officer within administration. I believe that may be a solution to our need to shore up our control practices. But those things have not happened yet. So as such, I will now tonight vote no on the vouchers, just so this remains on the radar and highlighted. I also am not comfortable with what the community does not know. And in that regard, I have decided this afternoon that I will seek my own legal advice. I'll try to locate an attorney for tomorrow. And I'm sure I can be responsible and legal with respect to whatever I say in public on these matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the voucher item? Ms. Fraley.
What happens in terms of if vouchers are not approved, in terms of the finances moving forward with the state, et cetera?
They're delayed.
So is there any repercussions, any penalties?
It depends on, there could be some penalties. I would have to look into it a little bit more, but at a minimum, it would cause a delay in payment. And there's potential for penalties. But I don't know that for sure. I would have to do more research.
Thank you.
Any other board questions or comments?
May I add a comment?
Can I just make sure if anybody else has an initial comment to speak up?
Thank you. One thing I know we, maybe our practice could improve too as a board, where we had normally said the vouchers are here for review. And, you know, that's another step where, you know, the community can look at what we're approving. So that's something that we might want to call attention to in the meetings. Because the book is on your desk. So.
Yeah, did you have a specific idea of how you'd like that done? I'm not sure I'm exactly understanding what the ask is.
Mr. President, I think what Mr. Neufeld is sharing, I've seen other models that school systems have used to create the level of transparency that is being expressed, and what I've, in my short tenure so far, believe is necessary for us to move forward in a positive manner.
That sounds great. If you've got a model, let's move that forward. I'm fine with that. I also say Dr. Means and I have had discussions about your request about auditors and things like that. And we will be bringing some ideas before the board in the near future. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, Mr. Myers.
So two things. I've been told my comments are difficult to hear online. So just to summarize, we have the information coming to the board about violation of purchasing policy. We have a request by me for a meeting with our auditors to review the scope of our audit, see if the audit can be expanded in scope to find things prospectively before it's too far along. I thoroughly respect and I actually very much like Mr. Neufield's idea about the possibility of a quality officer as part of our purchasing practices. And my added comment is I very much appreciate Mrs. Fraley's question with regards to what happens if you don't pay the vouchers on a timely basis. That has implications as well that won't be good for the school. So that said, why am I asking for this separate vote? It is to keep the issue visible and available to the community to see, so that the community knows that there is a problem and the board is working on it. Out of respect for the school board's role as the overseer of the government's taxation of citizens. So with that, I thank you for your patience with me in this matter.
Ms. Fraley?
My question was going to be specific to timeline. And is this the kind of thing we could delay at minimum to the next meeting for a vote? We vote on vouchers usually the first meeting of the month. Is there a difference if we vote at the next meeting?
I don't want to make anything up. I'll look into this first thing tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Help me understand, if we delayed it for 2 weeks, what information would we have between now and then? Or what information are you looking for? Let me rephrase that.
So I guess my question is, in terms of the process in the past that we've done it, I mean, we've been doing vouchers the same way since I joined the board. And so I'm curious in hearing Dr. Meehan's suggestion in terms of how other boards have done it. And if that's possibly something that could be, we can look into penalties, et cetera, and whatnot, and a new process. So worst case, we approve at the next meeting, even if we're not fully there, with the understanding that before the next vote, we would have possibly a new process in place. I want to be cognizant of what the penalties are. Depending on what that number is, that might, change how I feel in terms of voting at the next meeting. Not having that information right now makes it challenging for me to know the appropriate next step.
Thank you for clarifying that. Are you asking that we delay the vote tonight?
I'm asking if it's a possibility. Sean, I think, has something to say too.
Mr. Allen?
Oh, that was going to be my question is, would it be possible to research it during the meeting? Like if we just tabled it till the last agenda item, would that provide enough time to understand, or do you think you need dedicated time overnight to know?
I probably would need overnight.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. I am satisfied with voting yes tonight. If there is a definite commitment for the board to meet, suggestion for a quality officer, and my suggestion for examination of our school. That the purpose of what I'm saying is that's not to hang everybody out there. It's to try to get to our meetings this making things better.
Yeah.
Right. So if we can, as a board, commit to getting those things on an agenda soon, then I am fine, and I've accomplished what I'm trying to accomplish tonight.
So I'll just add, Dr. Means and I have to discuss this. We don't have an agenda tonight, so I can't bring anything forward tonight, but it is something, as far as Ms. Neufield's request, I'm not sure if it's exactly that, but an idea of maybe, I think we all understand what she's asking, and I think it's an incredibly good question.
Right.
But if there are specific things Ms. Neufeld would like to see, please reach out to Dr. Means. And, if you have ideas of obviously funding and how we pay for these things, please share those with them. I'm happy if you kind of work together. This doesn't have to come from the president. Any board member can work on a resolution and an idea and bring it before the board. So by all means, if both of you don't feel like you can't without me, by all means, that's something. Something.
Mr. Neufeld and I talk offline.
Sounds great.
I'm happy with moving forward on the motion. I think we've all accomplished what we all want, that things are run well.
I don't know if we have to have a formal motion to create committee or subgroup or whatnot, but can it be just stated that anyone that has additional ideas can forward them to both of you to come up with something to take to Dr. Means? Is that what y'all are thinking?
No, I'm just thinking I'll send my ideas to Dr. Means. I have sort of an outline already that I can provide, and then, Dr. Means can communicate through the normal channels that we use. Okay. So, it can be just as simple as a summary that we have. That's, much simpler outlook of revenue and expenditures.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
That we look at versus the deep dive. We have appointed a treasurer here who, I know Mr. Phillips isn't here this evening. I'm not picking on him, because I'm certain he looks at all the vouchers, all the detailed information as our treasurer, and is in communication with the business office on such detail. So he's not here to speak on it. So I'm comfortable approving the vouchers tonight. I don't see any need to hold it. But if we improve our process, I think it can only help provide transparency and a comfort level for us too, as a board.
Agreed.
Okay. I think Dr. Means has what he needs for tonight to help us move forward. Mr. Meyer?
I've been told again that my microphone was not working and asked to repeat, and I'll be very brief. The issue is that we have ongoing reports of breaches in our purchasing policy. That affects our financial controls and use of taxpayer dollars, and we are responsible for overseeing the use of taxpayer dollars. I am requesting, and the board is very thoroughly discussing and agreeing Mrs. Mufeld's idea of a quality officer or my suggestion of expanded audit scope. With that in mind, I'm willing to vote yes on the vouchers, as the board seems to be very much supportive of addressing this very quickly. Is that correct statement, Mr. Doman, of the
Yes,
discussion?
I think we'll
Okay.
have something. I mean, we'll certainly have proposals. I know Ms. Meadfield has talked about a separate internal audit person. I mean, obviously there's budget issues and
Right,
all
well,
those
that's-
types of things to
it-
discuss, but
Yeah,
I
it
don't
needs
want
to
to
be
say we have a
looked at,
decision
right?
made, but
No promises or decisions, but that we're committed to examination of it in the short term. Yep.
very first statement, I would say.
Mr. Dunn? Dr. Means, do you feel like you're clear on what we hope the outcome will be moving forward?
Crystal clear.
Okay, great.
Any community comments on this item from in the room? Please come forward, state your name and address. You have 3 minutes.
Mary Jo Randall, 727. I'm going to do this North 59th Street. Thank you, Dr. Means, for responding to my most recent questions. I'm unclear, are you going to be voting tonight on this contract?
We are.
Pardon?
Yes, we are.
You are going to, okay.
Are you talking about the vouchers?
I'm talking about, are we not talking about the,
We were talking about the vouchers that are instilled
I'm
within
sorry,
the
I thought we were talking about
consent
the
agenda.
Avid contract.
We have not gotten to that.
I will
point.
sit down. Thank you.
Any other community comment on the voucher item in the consent agenda? And I'm sorry, Jamie, did I ask if there are any online?
There's no hands raised.
Ms. Newman, please call the roll.
Ms. Fraley,
Yes.
Dr. Jessup Banger,
Yes.
Mr. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Mufeld,
Yes.
Mr. Rowland,
Yes.
Mr. Dolman.
Yes. Thank you. We'll move on to business services action item, approval of the Sanitary Foundation donation to East High School. Ms. Fraley.
Yes. It is recommended that the school board approve the cement masonry unit, CMU, block donation from Sontag Foundation to East High School, donor value of $916, and I so move.
Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any board discussion on this item?
Just a public thank you to any organization that donates money to the school district. It is so appreciated. And it's really exciting to see the students getting to use real life, materials and masonry equipment to develop their skills. So thank you very much.
Any other board comment, questions? Any community comments on this item from in the room? Jamie, anyone online?
No hands raised.
Ms. Newman, please call the roll.
Ms. Fraley,
Yes.
Dr. Jessup Banger,
Yes.
Mr. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Mufeld,
Yes.
Mr. Rowland,
Yes.
Mr. Dolman.
Yes. Moving on to the approval of the 2021-2022 Avid contract. Dr. Jessup Banger.
It is recommended the school board approve Avid Center amendment to products and services quote order in the amount of $59,776 plus applied taxes to fulfill services rendered and materials accessed for the 2021-2022 school year. And I so move.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Go ahead with our discussion. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Nicole Marble, Director of Secondary Education. I'm here to just recap the contract that is on the table this evening. So to give a high-level overview of the action item that is before you this evening, in February of 2021, district administration proposed a 3-year contract to implement Avid district-wide over 3 years. Earlier this school year in September, we proposed a revised plan to slow down the rate of implementation due to complications that were unforeseen with the initial implementation plan and the lack of district level personnel to really support successful implementation to the desired level of expectation. Therefore, what brings us to this evening is a contract before you for services that have already been rendered and resources that have already been received. To remind the board and our community, here are some identified strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and lessons learned in regards to our current implementation of Avid. And based upon these different strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and lessons, we have made the decision to continue to slow down our rate of implementation. So at present, our action plan is as follows: to continue to support the Avid elective at our middle schools and our high schools, and to continue to support the English language arts curriculum implementation at our elementary school level, as well as our middle school level with high leverage instructional strategies. We will continue to monitor the effectiveness of the Avid elective, as well as any of our instructional strategies that we bring forward, and continue to revise and improve our instructional practices because we're always looking to improve. Here are some of the ways in which we will engage students, families, and staff to better understand how things are working and where our opportunities are to continue to improve. Here is the breakdown of the contract that we are looking to approve this evening based on the professional learning that staff engaged in, as well as the resources and implemented resources to help support our implementation. And this is the same information that was presented back in February. Nothing has changed in terms of dollar amounts with this contract. So in terms of my recommendations to Dr. Means, his continued encouragement of the use of effective instructional strategies through the use of various systems and programs, including but not limited to Avid, and to the school board to approve the contract for those services rendered and materials received for the 2021-2022 school year. That I thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Ms. Marble. Dr. Means, did you have anything?
No, sir.
Any board questions or comment?
Just to clarify, so we were billed for services rendered and we have not yet submitted any remuneration for the services to date, correct?
We have not paid anything to Avid as of yet. No.
Correct. Okay. Thank you.
We've just been billed for the services.
Mr. Meyer.
I'm going to go back to my basics here, that elected as a representative of the people to oversee the seizing of people's money through the power of taxation. We have a responsibility to be sure that things are done in a particular way. This whole journey with Avid, I've had to deal with questions of nepotism, questions of cronyism, questions of violation of purchasing policy, questions of a contract being signed before the board approved the contract, and questions of the effectiveness of the implementation. Right now, I don't have any confidence in how this school district has proceeded with Avid, and my position is that we need an item to just end our relationship with Avid, buy out our obligations, and charge Dr. Means with the responsibility to come up with his program instead of something that he inherited from the previous administration. So I will oppose this motion. Thank you.
Any other board comments? Ms. Beagle?
Thank you. And in response, I would say this action does just that. The motion on the table here does satisfy our requirements. It also keeps our promise to students because we said we would provide these services to them. And in fact, we heard from our administrative team. We also heard from a number of sources that students are successful. But going to a greater level is not something that I understand the district is ready to do. And so the next step is for the administration to further take a look at it if they so think this is something we can continue into the future. But from my understanding, this fulfills our obligation and we don't intend to offer this programming in subsequent years. So we're fulfilling our contract and we're fulfilling our promise to the students for this year. So, and Avid actually, as our partner, has not been paid. That's to me problematic, and I think that I spoke at our last meeting on that they have been a good partner, and it's just something we have to take a different perspective and likely take a different pathway. So I think this motion, thank you, Dr. Means, for bringing it forward. I think that this satisfies what we need to do at this point.
We just have some clarification around that. Are we saying we're ending the relationship, or are we saying we're paying for this year's services to date and evaluating in the future? I think that's an important point.
This motion for this evening, Mr. President, addresses the services rendered and materials received for this school year. The future of Avid is something that Dr. Marble, Mrs. Bowers, and building principals and I will continue to discuss. But as it's been said in this boardroom, implementation has been difficult, and some of the challenges cannot be ignored in terms of how we initially implement it. And in terms of future communication to our stakeholders, we're thinking about that now, and when it's the appropriate time to share the next steps, we will. This evening, we think it's most prudent for us to focus on our contractual obligations for this school year.
Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. Ms. Brandon.
I want to agree with Ms. Neufeld. I feel like this is what we asked for in terms of getting to the point where we are doing our due diligence as a board for services rendered. I will say, having visited an Avid classroom, I do feel like there's some great resources. And so I wouldn't want us to, just because it's been implementation has not gone well, that we decide that this isn't our best way forward. Yet I am very interested in, Dr. Means, I've shared this with you before, I'm interested in seeing the broader strategy because Avid is just one strategy of what should be many. But again, based on the materials from Avid that I saw in my classroom visit, I do think that it has potential. I just don't think it's our only option. And it might not be the most financially smart option for us as we think about spending across the district and how we're focusing on instructional practice overall. So I support this coming forward in that it does, I think, accomplish what we asked for. And again, I think we just need to consider this within the broader context.
Any other board comments, questions?
I would echo really everything Ms. Fraley just said. Looking forward to seeing kind of where we go as we continue to come out of the pandemic and figure out how do we support students' learning and academic growth to the greatest degree possible, and hope that we're rigorous and examining and looking at what we do and looking forward to that. What I want to make sure that we continue to do is that we are always looking at student learning and student outcomes first. So looking forward to seeing kind of what's going forward.
Any other comments from the board? Questions? Sorry, Mr. Allen, I can't see you very well.
Yeah, sure. I agree with what other school board members have said. And I think the other thing that I would echo from Mr. Myers comments is just, we need to do the right things. We need to do them in the right way. We cannot have, misstep, shortcut, mistake, error, purposeful. We can't do it anymore. We have to do the right thing 100% right now, because the board, I can tell, we are starting to lose trust in what is going on. So be aware that probably I won't say I'm the biggest cheerleader. I'll say I'm among the biggest cheerleaders for the school district, for sure, is starting to be a little bit upset in the way that this is going. So please, and I know this is an effort to turn the ship. So I'm not mad at you, present tense, right? Thank you for doing this. But this is getting upsetting. And we can't keep coming back to the school board week after week after week with mess. And it's not fair to Dr. Means.
We just started.
It's not fair. We have got to start doing the right thing the right way 100% of the time. And this misstep, mistake, shortcut stuff has got to stop. It's got to stop. Thank you.
Any board questions or comments? Ms. Meefield.
Thank you. I just want to say that isn't how I understand the situation, Mr. Rollin. And although I appreciate you bringing that to our attention, I just can't agree with your comments.
Well, I'll just add it. As far as I'm concerned, I know we had the issue with when the contract was signed. Outside of that, I'm not aware of any issues in terms of how we picked Avid. Certainly, we have concerns about how it was implemented, and I know we're working to improve that. So I appreciate that greatly. Otherwise, I want to make sure that the things that Avid brings, if we're going to say this is something we no longer want to do, how are we going to address those things? There's some things that Avid brings that are pretty great that I've seen, and doesn't mean other programs, to Ms. Fraley's point, can't do the same thing. But I'm seeing teaching us organizational skills and how to prepare our students to learn and how to get them ready in the classroom, and especially that those are lifelong skills that are going to take them into college or wherever they go, if they go into the trades, whatever the case is. So if we're going to say that Avid's, I'm not sure that I'm ready to say Avid's not the thing. I'm certainly willing to evaluate it and see where we're at. I'm probably aligned more with Ms. Meefield, I think, is that this is where we need to be today, but I'd like to continue to see it and see if it's the right thing for our district. I know there's talk of, well, we're also doing ELA, and that's very true. And if we can't implement both at the same time, I certainly understand that, but I don't think they're the same programs and the same things. So to say we're doing one and therefore we shouldn't do the other is not appropriate, not correct. So I look forward to us continuing to evaluate it and bringing back some recommendations of where we can go and what we can do next. Mr. Ryan.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief and respectful. A reminder that the Avid contract, for the amount it was supposed to be bid to multiple vendors, it was not. It was a no bid contract in violation of policy. And I endorse and agree with the content and tone of Board Member Rollin's statements. Thank you.
Any other board comments or questions? Seeing none, any community comment on this item? Please come forward, state your name and address. You have 3 minutes.
Mary Jo Randall, 727 North 59th Street. Thank you for the discussion. Mrs. Meefield, just briefly, I don't know why you're concerned that Avid has not been paid since the board has not approved payment to Avid. So it's kind of simple. From the beginning, as I've been speaking about Avid, I have asked for the process to be done as other implementations have been done, which includes seeking out an option, a variety of options, instead of Avid suddenly just appeared in our district. I have asked to have that to have other options explored according to board policy, in which you would be given information about the required outcomes that you want, the benchmarks to get there, the costs involved. We're here tonight because the former superintendent signed a contract in violation of purchasing policy based on an amount and based on the fact that he did not come to the board. So that's a problem. For tonight's contract, I will point out that it includes, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Means, because you and I have communicated about this. It includes spending for 24 employees to go to the Summer Institute. The district sent 39 employees. And the explanation was that 15 of those were provided or will be paid for or have been paid for out of building budgets and teaching and learning. So is that correct? Has it been paid?
It hasn't been paid. That's why we have the contract before us this evening. I'm sorry, I'm not.
No, I'm sorry, because you and I communicated, so I was
That's
asking
fine,
you.
Ms. Randall, this really isn't a question and answer part. This is certainly for you to advocate your position and share what you want.
Okay, well, if any of you want to pick up when I'm done and ask the question, that would be wonderful.
Understood.
So we had 39 people attend instead of 24. Makes me ask, what are their hidden costs and what are the limits? Avid has a pretty good marketing plan, and they are constantly offering additional options to their members. So if you can send 15 more people at a cost of $12,750, what else can you do on your own out of contract, out of other budgets? So everything else I've said over and over and over. This is about finding the best outcome for our children. And you don't do that by just simply grabbing onto something that appeared on your doorstep. Thank you.
Any other community comment from inside the room? Jamie, anyone online?
No hands raised.
We're showing potentially some hands raised, Ms. Fraley.
Just one.
One hand raised.
Oh, there is one, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Fraley.
Sky, you have the microphone. Please state your name and address.
My name is Raymond Kronik, 4134 North 93rd. I'm just wondering, it kind of sounds like corruption, basically. What I'm hearing is people are spending money they're not supposed to. Who's accountable for this? That's what I want to know. Is who's going to be accountable for all this and just blindly signing contracts that cost the taxpayers money now? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other hands raised online, Jamie?
Yeah, Julie Alexander, please state your name and address.
Hi, my name's Julie Alexander, 7224 West State Street, Unit 1A, Wauwatosa. I've got one comment. Basically, I was at the meeting where they talked about this subject before here, and I am wondering on how individuals with disabilities will be part of this process in some way, shape, or form, because they are supposed to have an equal options to training and learning here. So that is my comment here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other hands raised, Jamie?
There are no more hands raised.
Are there any final board questions or comments before we vote? Ms. Newman, please call the roll.
Ms. Fraley?
Yes.
Dr. Jessup Banger?
Yes.
Mr. Meyer?
No.
Ms. Mufeld?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Dolman?
Yes. We will then move on to final public comment on non-agenda items. Is there any further public comment on non-agenda items from people in the room? Seeing none, are there any online, Jamie?
There are no hands raised.
May I have a motion to adjourn into executive closed session per Wisconsin statute 19.85 1C and G to discuss personnel matters with legal counsel?
So moved.
Second.
Second from Mr. Meyer. Ms. Newman, please call the roll.
Ms. Fraley,
Yes.
Dr. Jessup Banger,
Yes.
Mr. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Mutfeld,
Yes.
Mr. Rowland,
Yes.
Mr. Dolman.
Yes, we are adjourned into executive session. We will begin at 8 p.m.